Hannibal's masterpiece, Cannae 216 BC, Second Punic War, how one man crushed an empire. Rome was the mightiest power on earth, or so she believed. But in the blistering heat of an Apulian plain in 216 BC, the gods themselves seemed to whisper otherwise. Stones fell from the skies. Statues bled, lightning skewered senators mid-stride. Were the heavens mocking the Roman she-wolf, or were they warning her? As 80,000 Roman soldiers pounded the earth toward Cannae, led by two commanders who agreed on absolutely nothing, a man watched calmly from the south. Hannibal Barca, the military sorcerer who read Roman minds like bedtime scrolls and conjured victories out of chaos. But how did he turn dust and horse sweat into history's most perfect battle? Why did 70,000 Roman lives vanish in a single day? What ancient tactics did Hannibal wield to crush an army twice his size? And who were the Romans who defied death in acts so savage even their enemies wept? This isn't just a story of war, it's a tale of hubris, genius, betrayal, and the moment a republic stared into the abyss and blinked. It was the summer of 216 BC, and Rome was getting some seriously bad Yelp reviews from the heavens. Stones rained down on the Aventine Hill like the gods were chucking gravel at a bad contractor. Statues bled, hot springs turned crimson, and lightning zapped the campus Martius like Zeus was playing whack-a-senator. The message? You're about to get wrecked. Hannibal Barca wasn't just a general, he was a psychological illusionist in bronze armor. He had already humiliated Rome at Ticinus, Trebia, and Trasimene, and even turned the Ager Falernus into a Roman escape room. He knew Roman commanders better than they knew themselves, young, glory-hungry, and allergic to caution. Perfect bait. The Senate, now in full panic mode, decided to go big or go extinct. They raised the largest army in Roman history, 89,000 troops, a mix of Roman legions and Italic allies. Two consuls, Aemilius Paulus, the cautious one, and Terentius Varro, the YOLO one, were handed the keys to this military juggernaut. Their mission? Find Hannibal in Apulia and erase him from the map. Rome wasn't just fighting a man, they were fighting a system. Hannibal's war machine stood on four legs, southern Italic allies. He was charming them like a snake oil salesman with a war elephant. Iberian silver mines and manpower, his piggy bank and recruitment office. Carthaginian political support and supplies, which were about as reliable as a donkey in a thunderstorm. Gallic allies in Cisalpine Gaul, wild, war-hungry tribes who loved a good Roman roast. Rome's counter-moves. Pillar 1, Southern allies. Paulus and Varro took the lion's share of troops to crush Hannibal's charm offensive. Pillar 2, Iberia. The Scipio brothers were already stirring up trouble for Hasdrubal Barca, Hannibal's brother in Spain. Iberia was becoming less silver mine, more headache. Pillar 3, Carthage, Gnaeus Servilius Geminus, led a 120-ship fleet to North Africa. They raided Meninx, then got ambushed and lost 1,000 men. So much for that pillar. Pillar 4, Cisalpine Gaul. Lucius Postumius marched north with 25,000 men to torch the lands of the Boii tribe. The goal? Make Hannibal's Gallic allies rethink their RSVP. With all pieces in motion, Rome was ready to face Hannibal. But what they didn't know was that he had already written the ending, and it was a blood-soaked symphony of encirclement, slaughter, and tactical genius. In a world saturated with noise and distractions, Dark Crown Chronicle isn't just another YouTube channel. It's a beacon for those who crave depth, drama, and the power of forgotten history told boldly. If you've ever felt the thrill of standing at the edge of ancient battlefields, or yearned to understand the minds of those who shaped the fate of empires, then this is where you belong. By hitting subscribe and turning on notifications, here's what you'll unlock. What you stand to gain. Immersive storytelling. Get pulled into cinematic reconstructions of pivotal moments like the Battle of Cannae, each episode crafted with historical precision and emotional gravity. Intellectual edge. Dive deeper than textbooks ever dared. understand the strategies, psyches, and power plays that shaped our world. Visual richness. Every frame features meticulously researched uniforms, terrain maps, and atmospheric effects that transport you into the heart of history. Early access to drops. Be the first to witness new content, whether it's chilling portents from Roman lore or tactical genius from Hannibal's war room. Community of thinkers. Join a tribe of curious minds who engage, debate, and explore history's hidden corners with you. So, if you believe that history is more than dusty pages, and that knowledge should echo like war drums across the centuries, subscribe to Dark Crown Chronicle now, and hit that bell to never miss an episode. Because when the gods start throwing rocks, you'll want to be the first to know. Rome's biconsular command was like giving a Ferrari to two drivers who couldn't agree on the gear. Lucius Aemilius Paulus, the seasoned strategist, was all caution and calculation. Gaius Terentius Varro, the political upstart, was basically the ancient version of "hold my wine, I got this." They alternated command daily, a system that worked about as well as a chariot with square wheels. Paulus wanted to live to see his grandchildren. Varro wanted to be immortalized in marble. Spoiler, only one got his wish. In July 216 BC, Rome flexed hard. 115,000 troops spread across two theaters. The main force, led by our dynamic duo, marched into Apulia like a thundercloud of spears and sandals. Before battle, Paulus gave a speech so stirring it could have made a statue cry. This isn't just about legions. It's about our wives, our children, our republic. So fight like your life depends on it. Because it does. Meanwhile, Hannibal was already lounging near Cannae, sipping metaphorical wine and plotting his next masterpiece. He'd picked a battlefield flatter than a Roman pancake, perfect for his cavalry to dance circles around the Roman infantry. Varro, on his day of command, charged ahead like a gladiator on espresso. He launched a sortie that ended with 1,700 Carthaginian casualties and only 100 Roman losses. Victory, or so he thought. The next day, Paulus took the reins and smelled something fishy, and it wasn't the Tiber. Hannibal had pulled a classic bait and ambush, abandoned camp, fires still burning, tents stuffed with loot like a Black Friday sale. Varro was ready to plunder. Paulus said, "Let's not die today." Two escaped Roman slaves burst in like plot devices from a Greek tragedy, warning of Hannibal's ambush. The trap was sprung, but not on the Romans. Hannibal had been outfoxed. He retreated, licking his wounds and muttering, "Okay, that was clever." Paulus split the army, 2/3 on the western bank of the Aufidus River, 1/3 on the eastern bank, closer to Hannibal. The Carthaginian general, sensing his troops' morale dipping faster than Roman wine at a banquet, gave a rousing speech. "The gods brought the enemy here for us. Win this battle and Italy is yours. Rome's wealth, Rome's glory, all of it." Hannibal then moved his camp to the western bank, mirroring the Romans. The next day, silence fell over Cannae. The kind of silence that makes your spine itch. Polybius nailed it. There is nothing more intolerable to mankind than suspense. Hannibal sent his Numidian cavalry to harass Roman watering parties. It was petty, it was brilliant, and it worked. Varro, now boiling with battle fever, was ready to throw down. Paulus tried to stop him, again, but eventually gave in, saying, "I'll share the consequences, but not the blame." On August 2nd, it was Varro's turn to command. He ordered the bulk of the Roman army to cross to the eastern bank. The trap was set. The stage was ready. The curtain was about to rise on one of the bloodiest performances in military history. Picture a sun-scorched plain boxed in by the Aufidus River to the west and hills to the east. The Romans, confident and colossal, lined up to the north like a brick wall with attitude. Their formation? A massive block of 80,000 infantry and 6,000 cavalry, packed so tightly they could have passed olives without moving their arms. Right wing, Roman cavalry under Paulus hugging the river. Center, heavy infantry in deep maniples, led by ex-consuls Atilius and Servilius. Left wing, Italic allied cavalry under Varro. Front line, light infantry screening the whole force. They looked like a clenched fist ready to punch Hannibal's face off. But Hannibal? He was about to turn that fist into a crushed grape. Outnumbered 2-1, Hannibal didn't flinch. He deployed his 40,000 infantry and 10,000 cavalry in a formation so clever it should have come with a spoiler alert. Left wing, west, Iberian and Gallic cavalry under Hasdrubal facing Paulus. Center, a crescent-shaped bulge of Iberian and Gallic infantry, with Hannibal and Mago at the helm. Right wing, east, Numidian cavalry under Maharbal facing Varro. Flanks, hidden, elite Libyan infantry tucked just behind the crescent's edges. Front screen, Balearic slingers and javelin throwers. The Libyans were the secret sauce, invisible to Roman eyes, waiting to snap shut like a bear trap. As if Hannibal had bribed the weather gods, a southerly wind kicked up dust into Roman faces. Visibility dropped, morale dipped, and Hannibal's trap got a free upgrade. The light infantry from both sides clashed like two toddlers with foam swords, noisy, messy, and ultimately inconclusive. Then came the cavalry. Hasdrubal's horsemen charged Paulus's cavalry. The Aufidus River cramped their style, turning the fight into a chaotic brawl. Riders dismounted, grappling like wrestlers at a toga party. Hasdrubal's forces won, chasing the fleeing Romans and slicing them down like wheat. With the light infantry spent, the Roman heavy foot surged forward like a tidal wave of iron. They smashed into the bulging Carthaginian center, pushing it inward, turning the crescent into a concave bowl. It looked like victory. It smelled like victory. But it was actually the appetizer. On the left, Varro's Italic cavalry faced Maharbal's Numidians. The Numidians danced around them, tossing javelins like confetti. Then came the twist. 500 Numidians pretended to defect. Welcomed into Roman ranks, they waited. Then, surprise, they unsheathed hidden swords and hacked at Roman hamstrings. Varro fled, his cavalry crumbled. Paulus, wounded but defiant, joined the infantry in the center. The Carthaginian line appeared to break. Romans poured in. Then, boom. Libyan infantry wheeled inward, attacking from both flanks. Iberians and Gauls reformed, pressing from the front. The Romans were now surrounded, a human meatball in a Carthaginian sandwich. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, Hasdrubal and Maharbal, fresh from their victories, didn't chase the fleeing Romans. Instead, they turned around and charged into the Roman rear. Hannibal had done it. He had encircled an army twice his size. The Roman fist had been shattered, its fingers broken, its knuckles bleeding. Before the main event turned into a meat grinder, Paulus had tucked away 10,000 infantry in the Roman camp on the western bank of the Aufidus, like a backup plan in sandals. These troops launched a surprise attack on Hannibal's camp, and for a moment it looked like they might pull off a heroic side mission. But Hannibal, ever the multitasker, dashed across the river like a general with a Fitbit and personally led the defense. The Romans panicked, fled, and were cut down by 2,000. The rest were surrounded and trapped like leftovers in a siege Tupperware. Back on the main battlefield, Lucius Aemilius Paulus, battered and bleeding, refused to quit. He was the kind of guy who'd rather die on his feet than live on his knees. As Tribune Gnaeus Lentulus begged him to escape, Paulus gave a speech worthy of marble inscription. "Tell the Senate to fortify Rome. As for me, I'll die here, with my men." And die he did, surrounded by the corpses of his comrades, a tragic hero in a sea of red. This wasn't a battle anymore. It was a massacre. The Roman army, packed tighter than olives in a jar, had no room to maneuver, no space to swing a sword, and no hope of escape. Cavalry, obliterated. Out of 6,000 horsemen, only 70 escaped with Varro to Venusia. Infantry, pulverized. Livy and Polybius estimate 70,000 dead, with only 3,000 survivors. Leadership, decapitated. 1 consul, 2 proconsuls, 29 tribunes, 80 senators, gone. Hannibal's losses, a mere 5,700. The man had just pulled off the ancient world's version of a perfect game. But wait. One last flicker of Roman grit. Tribune Publius Sempronius Tuditanus, with 600 brave souls, snuck out of the smaller camp under cover of darkness. Forming a shield wall against Numidian javelins, they marched to the larger camp, rallied more troops, and fought their way to Canusium. The rest, between 8,000 and 15,000, were captured at dawn. The sun rose over Cannae, not on glory, but on horror. The aftermath was so grotesque it made even the hardened Carthaginians wince. Romans begging to be finished off, others burying their own heads to suffocate. One Numidian survivor mutilated by a dying Roman who bit him to death. That last act of defiance, a toothy reminder that Rome might be down, but it wasn't out.